Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today is date May the 7th, 2025, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, we do let you know that we are a news podcast that we do pride ourselves on, which means that we only cite from reputable sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, wherever extreme left or extreme right you get your views from. We simply do not do that. At the same time, guys, we do try to watch our language. Let's be honest, words do fly. At the same time, guys, there may be things that might be shown tonight that might be on a little intense side for younger viewers. So if your discretion is advised, aside from that, welcome. So, how else can we describe, well, the first story, except for it's the title of tonight's podcast, F-47 versus Sesame Street. Why? Because apparently F-47 doesn't like thinkers.
Versus public broadcasting. Trump signing an executive order this morning to stop federal funding for both national public radio and PBS. The White House saying it's about ending taxpayer subsidization on what it calls biased media. But both organizations are blasting the move and say they're planning to take Trump to court. Joining me now, our Capitol Hill correspondent, Jay O'Brien. So, Jay, Congress has the power of the purse. So what authority does the president have here?
Not as much as that executive order that he signed today seemed to somewhat indicate, Kira. The reality is that executive order called for that funding to be cut by what is allowable under law, because PBS's budget, as is NPR's under the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, is set by Congress. It is congressionally appropriated money. So Congress would be the ones to actually enact this cut. There could be cuts to the tune of nickels and dimes because of this executive order. But the reality here is that funding would be most under threat if the White House goes to Congress and says, we want you to take a sledgehammer to this budget, which we expect the White House to try to do here, Kira. It's unclear if that's going to have full support up here on the Hill. Certainly, there are further right allies of the president who have signaled that they would be on board with this. For instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had a hearing in her subcommittee focused on NPR and PBS. But will it get the support and the buy-in of moderate Republicans, as Republicans are right now fighting over what the federal budget will be looking like and have a lot of other battles to fight on that front? Very much remains unclear.
Well, we should point out Trump isn't the first one to try and cut off funding. Mr. Rogers actually came to the Hill to testify proposed cuts back in 1969, right?
Yeah, and the case that he made then and many make now is that A, public broadcasting is a public service, but B, it's a drop in the bucket in an overall federal budget. We're talking about over 2 years, because the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is funded 2 years out to try to protect it from political influence. It's about $1 billion a year, which comes up to $500 million a year. And you're talking about, remember, a federal budget that's nearly $7 trillion big. So again, the case that they made then and PBS and NPR are making now is that this is, again, a drop in the bucket of a much bigger federal budget. And the reality here that they say, in their view, is that this is merely a political attack on them as an institution.
It is. It really is. When they say drop in the bucket, guys, the federal budget is, like they said, $7 trillion. If NPR and PBS are getting $1 billion over 2 years, that's less than 1% of the budget. But again, they believe that it's indoctrination. I did not know Sesame Street, Arthur, Wishbone. I don't know if Wishbone still shows on PBS anymore. But again, public shows from a publicly funded broadcast to where they do offer public service. You kids do learn, not just Sesame Street, mind you. There are many, many other programs out there. And also NPR is also a news service as well. So again, you can't get mad. And NPR, albeit, is not a It's not left leaning or right leaning. They do try to remain neutral. NPR has always said that. It's just the fact that, well, if you're a Republican right now, there is not a lot of good news for you. And again, this is why I always tell people, whenever it comes to F-47 and his executive actions, smoke. That is really smoke. Hey, Garrett, Peppa Pig promotes anarchy. I can't argue. I mean, I could argue that, but Peppa Pig is something else. But no, it's just programming. And again, I know if it wasn't for Sesame Street, I'd lose my doggone mind. My kids love Sesame Street. I was raised on Sesame Street. I was also raised off of Contact. I was raised off the Electric Company. I was raised off Fraggle Rock. All these shows were on PBS at one point. Conjunction function. I think that's how it went. But yes, all those shows were there as educational. They were fun. They were entertaining. Ghost Rider, if you're my age, you remember that show on PBS. But it doesn't promote anything except getting children and young adults to think creatively, constructively, critically. That's all it does. That was the whole entire point. Even Mr. Rogers, as they pointed back in the 60s, went to front of Congress because, trust me, 60s, Republicans wanted to cut the funding that time too. And good old Mr. Rogers went up there and went, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that, we should have funding for the children because education is vital. And who knew he was right. But yes, this is why I sit there and say the entire time, whenever it comes to F-47 and his executive actions, they are mostly smoke. Now, right now, his cult is a little bit worried because midterms ain't too far off from now. And Republicans have to figure out how to keep their majority in the House and the Senate. Democrats, this is your time to shine for the next couple of years. You actually can do more than what you do when it's election season. And you could flip a House, you could flip the Senate, you could flip both. But at the same time, there is nothing wrong with NPR and PBS. It is quality programming for all ages. F-47 doesn't like it because they don't kiss his ass. That's it. That's the whole thing. He doesn't like it because it doesn't kiss his ass like Newsmax does, like Fox News does, like News Media does. And I can keep going down the line. Every right-wing publication and grifter, I said grifter, I'm sorry. I meant right-wing publicist, all kiss Trump's ass. And so he likes his ass kissed. What he doesn't like about the fact is that if it speaks against him for his talk of, everybody being snowflakes, he gets butthurt every time he hears something he doesn't like. But again, I digress. When it comes to executive actions, guys, it's not really nothing to worry about. And especially for NPR and PBS's budget to be less than 0.1% of the entire budget, Congress is not about to risk their seats over Sesame Street. Better leave elbow and them be. That's all I'm saying. Hey, Vaughn, we're from the street. Yeah, Sesame Street. Again. And I'm not saying just Sesame Street as a whole, but it's just the most recognized thing on PBS right now. Just saying. Outside of Miss Rachel, but Miss Rachel starting to slowly make her way across all the airwaves. But I digress. Moving right along. Another reason why, and again, this entire F-47 cult should be restrained, because now he's asking Dodge, Dodge, I call them dumbasses. They want to get Social Security Administration information, and they're not saying why. But again, request number 2.
Breaking news now on ABC News Live reports the Trump administration filing a new emergency request with the Supreme Court to clear the way to give Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency access to Social Security records. That agency holds personal information ranging from bank details to medical and mental health records. The White House arguing DOJ needs access to target waste in federal government. This coming after a lower court blocked the team's access, citing federal privacy laws. Breaking news now.
Yes, privacy laws. They're trying to sit there and say, oh, well, we're still trying to find wasteful spending. You haven't found shit. I don't mean to be negative, but I'm gonna be honest. This Department of Government Efficiency hasn't found shit, has not found anything in savings, has not found wasteful spending, and is yet trying to get as much access into things that again have nothing to do with them. Because why does this Department of Dumbasses need access to Social Security data? Hey, Kira. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, Kira. Hey, Frack. Hey, Soror. But again, why do they need this information? Because as far as Social Security, they tried to make the claim that people who are getting Social Security checks shouldn't be getting them, like people that are over 100 and something. Remember that just a couple months ago? That Elon and his idiots try to sit there and say, well, there are people who are still gathering Social Security checks that are over 120 years old. Really? Where's the proof? It's somewhere. You see the point I'm getting at, that Doge wanted access to the IRS. They wanted personal information from the IRS, your personal information. Now they want personal information from the Social Security database. There's no need for it. And this is why everybody should be woke the frack up, because they are steady more trying to get access to things. And you got to think, do you really want this handful of college students / dropouts following Elon Musk to have access to your data? I mean, it's not identity theft, it's welcomed. But again, I point this out, and you should point this out to your congressman. I do it to Marsha Blackburn all the time. I can't stand the bitch. And yes, she's a bitch. I don't really call women I don't really like to call women bitches, but Marsha Blackburn, if you ever see this podcast, you are a bitch. But the point I'm getting at is they're trying to access things because they're trying to set up what they can take. And trust me, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, those are the last areas to where Republicans, conservatives, and F-47 alike would love to privatize it because there's billions of dollars there. So again, we all should be concerned. But that's not the only things F-47 has done this week. Again, it is amazing to me whenever it comes to the armed forces, whoever wants to serve should be allowed to serve. It does not matter about their color, their preferences, their pronouns. But apparently, F-47 feels like, hey, if we can't figure out if you're male or female, no, you can't serve in the military.
Hey, everyone. We do have a bit of breaking news to bring you out of our nation's capital. It looks like the Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military, at least for now. The High Court lifting a lower court injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. Our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, joins me now. All right, Devin, what do we know?
The Supreme Court, Kira, is letting the policy go forward in a divided vote, 6-3. The three liberal justices indicated they would dissent from this move. The Trump administration had asked the High Court to lift a block on the policy that was issued by a judge out in Washington state. That judge, appointed by George W. Bush, said that this policy was discriminatory, unfairly exclusionary, and unsupported by the evidence. He said it would likely be struck down, but the Supreme Court now reversing course. What this means, Kira, is that the Trump administration can now begin to discharge transgender service members who have served their country for the last 4 years in the United States military. There are about 4,200 active duty troops who are trans, according to the Pentagon figures. Many of those have served in combat. Many have been awarded. A group of 7 of those trans service members sued to challenge this policy. But today, at least temporarily, Kira, the Supreme Court has turned away their appeals.
So what happens now?
Those discharges can begin. The litigation, however, Kira, does continue. It's in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out in California. That means ultimately the Supreme Court could actually take up this case on the merits. But what the court is signaling today is that the President of the United States is owed broad deference over how the military is run and who they can allow into the military. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has argued that transgender service members pose a problem for unit cohesion and military readiness, lethality. Although judges have found no evidence of that. But today, again, with this Supreme Court decision, the administration can move forward with the same policy it had back in the first term, removing those service members, around 4,000 of them, though the Biden administration allowed them to serve. So a dramatic change and a real setback for those who did serve and those who have sacrificed for their country here.
All I could sit there and say, we went from don't ask, don't tell to now don't ask, don't tell, don't worry, we're not going to figure you out because apparently you're transgender. First off, let me explain about Secretary of Defense never sober Pete Hegseth. I'm not trying to knock anybody that's serving the National Guard. Serving in the National Guard is the same as serving in the armed forces. Thank you for your service. I'm talking about that single motherfucker, Pete Hegseth, the man who can't stay sober, the man who was a Fox political pundit, the man who called himself a warrior but really was just a serviceman in the National Guard that never saw any action. Yet somehow he is Secretary of Defense. Yet somehow on his first day of his nomination, when he was getting grilled by the Senate, he sat there and said, and I want to remind everybody, this is the same guy who turned around and said, if I am nominated as Secretary of Defense, I will be sober. Come again? You have to get the office of the guy who handles the military, but you promise to not drink an ounce of alcohol. Yet 4 hours later, he was seen with a bottle in his hand. I don't know about you, but that screams alcoholic to me. But this is the same guy that turns around and says, oh, transgenders can't serve because there's a cohesion unit problem. Here's the problem. The same was said when people of color wanted to join the military. But if I'm right, the same people who are ancestors of Pete Hegseth turned around and said, well, people of color can't be trained. They can't be disciplined. They can't follow orders. They cannot perform in a unit without a white man leading them. It is amazing that not a lot of time has left between people of color just trying to be recognized in the military to fast forward to 2025, where if you're transgender, you can't serve, or they don't want you in the military. And I'm sorry, have you seen military enlistment numbers lately? You need all the people you can get. At the same doggone time, if a person who's transgender, and I will always say this, and then this is me, Will, on How the Frack We Got Here, all are welcome. We all welcome you. We don't criticize. We're not bigots. We're not xenophobes. All are welcome here. It's almost sound like a church. All are welcome in the church. But when it comes to the military, I don't care how you identify yourself. If you want to serve, you should be allowed to serve. And it shouldn't take a drunk who never seen a day of combat in his life, will swear up and down that we have to have a warrior mentality, is going to sit there and say, you know what? I don't think that transgenders will serve well. I'm sorry. To me, it echoes the simple fact of the matter is just over a century ago, they didn't let people of color serve except for, cooks, servicemen, cleanup people. I'm sorry. That's the way I see it. And I hope they sue. But this also points out one other thing I want to say. That is the dangers of a conservative-leaning Supreme Court. Because F-47, for all reasons, because he loves litigation, if he doesn't get his way, what does he always say? Oh, we'll just take it to the Supreme Court. We'll take it to the Supreme Court. We will go that route, and we'll leave it at that. Amazingly. And what happens with every case F-47 has? Mysteriously, as if it's a drive-through window at SCOTUS, there's his case. There it's being seen by, and the judges are, it's like, and that's the scary part, that because it's conservative leaning, there is a scary chance that he will always get his way with cases. It didn't always happen. I think for one of the cases, he didn't get his way, but in the case of the transgender ban, yeah, he got his way. Thankfully, it didn't happen with NPR and PBS because he's got to go through Congress. And like I said before, conservatives have to worry about their seats in a couple of years. He's unfortunately covered until either he, fulfills his term or, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I was going to say a certain green hat gets another shot. Not wishing it on the president, but what I'm saying is, guys, the dangers of a conservative-leaning Supreme Court is that a lot of decisions will go his way because it's uneven, it's unbalanced. I keep hoping that the next time we do get a president, I pray to God she's a woman and she's a Democrat, may you balance the scales or be petty, pack it. There's not a limit on how many people we can have on the Supreme Court. There's no law against it. And there's nothing, and as like I said, we could have really and truly, well, we have 9 on there right now. We could have 12. We could have 15. We could have as many people on Supreme Court as there are nominations for it. I keep hoping it'll happen. Just the simple fact of the matter is we honestly could use it. But not everything's not all bad news, because what F-47 did this week was meet with the Prime Minister of Canada. And of course, because the con man has to believe that he can just buy countries, still sitting there touting, oh, well, Canada can be the 51st state. I love when a certain prime minister looks this man in the face and says, no.
Concession?
Yes.
Friendship. No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of. He is a big, tough cookie too. Just broke the record, and he's a great guy. And we had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I'd like to get your response to this too. Mr. President, you had said that Canada should become the 51st state.
Yeah. No. Well, I still believe that, but it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, I do feel it's much better for Canada, but we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage, because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. We have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have, I must say,
And I got to stop it right there, because only Canadians can be as polite as they want to be and tell you immediately, no, it's not for sale. And it's amazing how F-47 was just old man talking. That's what best way I can say it. Just saying anything comes to his mouth. Oh, Canada's great. It's great. It's great. It has a hockey team. I like Wayne Gretzky, the great one. We protect you because, you're part of North America. He's just rambling on. And I just felt like the prime minister had to turn around and tell him, Canada's not for sale. There's a lot of places that are not for sale. Unfortunately, the White House already proved to be compromised, but Canada, we're good. You keep your crazies on that side of the line. We won't sit there and make fun of you. I love how you sit there and said, "Oh, you revitalized security." Yeah, every other nation, every other sovereign nation has decided not to do business with us. We're like you know what the U.S. is on the global scale? We're the kid with headlights that's sitting in the corner of the cafeteria now. Nobody wants to play with us. And unfortunately, it's because of him. But here's the crazy part about this. Going to immigration, to where this is how you know Republicans don't care about two things. Number one, they don't care about the military. As much as they talk about it, they don't give a shit about armed forces. They don't. Because you want to know why? The VA system's still fucked up. That's why. And number two, immigration. They talk about legal immigration because it is the white man's boogeyman. They're coming for all of you. They're sending their worst. They're doing all of these things. And, you know, his cult eats it up. Well, we got to get rid of all these illegal immigrants. We're seeing it across the country now. That unfortunately, ICE and Department of Homeland Security have been empowered to just do whatever the hell they want. Even here in Tennessee, we've had ICE and even the Department of Homeland Security. Somebody even came up to my house and was like, "Well, have you seen illegal immigrants?" I said, "No, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't tell you if I did." And the look on their face when I said it, because again, we could solve the immigration problem. Instead of, you know, sending armed forces and sending fence wires to borders, we could actually fix the immigration system. We could actually get more immigration personnel, judges, lawyers, clerks, things of that nature. But in true Republican fashion, you will always find one who will defend and say, well, it's impossible. Enter Byron Donald. For all those that don't remember this idiot, he was the guy that sat there and said black people were doing better under Jim Crow. And now this fool's running for governor. But watch him politely wipe Trump's ass and then ask for more.
Running for governor in the great state of Florida, the Sunshine State. Congressman, thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be back with you.
It's good to have you back. I know it's a busy time for you, so we really appreciate it. We're going to talk about the president's comments there as well as the economy. But let's talk about that moment when he said, "I don't know," when I asked him if he has to uphold the Constitution of as the president of the United States. What was your reaction to hearing that? Do you think he has to uphold every part of the Constitution, including the Fifth Amendment?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I think what the president was talking about is, yes, he's going to uphold the Constitution. He's taking advice from his legal team, led obviously by the White House counsel, the Attorney General of the United States, everybody working at the Department of Homeland Security, about all of the parameters that they are using to deport illegal aliens out of this country, which is the core of President Trump's victory last November. Let's remember, the American people have been clear that they want criminal illegal aliens, number one, and then illegal aliens overall returned to their home countries. Donald Trump is fulfilling that promise. Now, I think to the broader question in this entire situation, is it okay for the previous administration to abuse the border security laws, abuse asylum, abuse temporary protected status, open up the country to millions of people, and then hide behind due process where it would take us 15 years to actually process people back out of the United States?
And you're talking about the numbers. You're saying there are so many people here that it would just take too long. But let me ask you, I mean, the Constitution says that everyone who's here is entitled to due process. So I understand there are big numbers that you are talking about and that the president is dealing with. But if you're going to follow the Constitution, don't you have to follow what it says by letter and law?
Well, I think first, the other thing is you have to look at this. When you come in, let's say on an asylum package, that is at the discretion of the administration. The administration is now saying, you know what? We are going to have a legal detainer for you to be deported, and you are going to be removed from the United States. That's under the premise of how you came in. Second thing, every illegal alien that came here, the first thing they did is they broke the law coming into our country. They broke the law. Let's level set here. That's what they did. So there is an orderly process that the president and his team is going through. They're not just rounding up people and dropping them out of the country. That is not true. Everybody that's been deported to this point has had a legal deportation order executed by the president's administration.
But in this case, in the case of Kilmer Abrego Garcia, the administration said it was an administrative error. And in 2019, an immigration judge issued an order that's still in effect that he should not be deported back to El Salvador. And I guess this goes back to the question that I was asking to President Trump. Do you think that everyone, citizens and non-citizens, are entitled to due process?
Well, first and foremost, let me be clear with you. When it comes to due process, that is a privilege reserved for American citizens. When people are in our country illegally, there is a semblance of due process, but not nearly at the level of a United States citizen, of an American. There are two different standards. You come to America, you are a guest in the United States. That privilege can be revoked. And a lot of these illegal aliens were not guests. They showed up at the southern border. Joe Biden abused our laws, ignored our laws, and let them in. And yet, so what are the American people supposed to say about that?
Well, the Constitution, I mean, let me just read you. This is the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces. And then it goes on to say, nor shall any person be subjected for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life, limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So the Constitution says any person, not citizen. And therein lies the debate and the root of my question. I mean, does any person just apply to citizens in your mind, or does it apply to citizens and non-citizens? The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says it applies to citizens and non-citizens.
Well, let's be very clear. First and foremost, when the framers wrote our Constitution, they never envisioned that there would be an executive that would allow millions of people to come into the country illegally. They never fathomed that. Number two, more importantly, you have a situation right now. Is it okay for any administration to not follow the law, abuse border security laws, let millions of people in, and then hide behind the court system to say, well, now they're here, so now we have to go through a lengthy process? Let's examine this right now. Right now, what we know is that when people came into the country illegally, almost 90% of them would not even go to the hearings. So if you're supposed to show up for a hearing and you do not go, what are we supposed to do as a country?
Very quickly, let me just interject, and we're running out of time, and I still have to get to the economy.
Sure.
To your point about the hearings, does Congress need to work harder to get more funding, to get more resources to the courts so that you can better process people who are here, who are undocumented?
And in the one big beautiful bill, there will be dollars provided to the administration to speed up the deportation efforts. I will add that one of the things we have to be very sober about is that the gravity upon which all these people have been brought to our country, it is not physically possible to hire that many judges and process them out of the country. This is why you cannot have open borders to begin with.
Okay, let's move on.
All I'm going to say, bull and shit. First off, if you haven't noticed, I can't stand people like him. I can't stand Byron Donald. I cannot stand Byron Donald, number one, because of his first comment 4 months ago, when he sat there and said that black people did better under Jim Crow than they did post-civil rights. Yes, that fool. I'm going to bring him up so y'all can see. That fool right there, who, by the way, if you're in Florida, he's running for governor. This man is the person you don't want. He is the person that Harriet Tubman would have left for gator bait in the swamp. That is all I'm saying. And again, I love the fact that this is why I love anchors that do their homework. Because again, she sat there and said, when you got asked, well, do you think that citizens and non-citizens should be given due process? Anybody with a smartphone or a smart device, the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process for citizens and non-citizens within our borders. That means everyone. Even that gutless Marco Rubio, who's currently Secretary of State, had to say the same thing. Everyone is entitled to due process once you are in the U.S., whether you're a legal citizen or you're not. It's that simple. But here's the problem with idiots like him. They're too busy kissing Trump's ass. They're too busy trying to stand and say, well, we're going to blame the previous administration because it's easy. We're going to blame the previous administration because we don't have an answer. And I love how you try to sit there and say, well, the bill that's coming out, it's going to help us expedite deportations. Okay. So what you said about it not being physically impossible to get more immigration judges, but you're saying it's completely possible to get enough personnel to ICE and Homeland Security to basically be the modern day Gestapo and remove immigrants and not due process. Like a certain individual that's sitting in El Salvador right now who never should have been deported in the first place. That apparently El Salvador, the president of El Salvador, and F-47 are going. We don't know. We don't know how to get them back. And to sit there and say that, well, all these people, they don't show up to hearings. Did you? I'm sorry, you gave no numbers. You spouted Fox News narratives. You said nothing but straw man arguments. You gave more word salads than RFK when he's on a bender. And at the same time, I will point him out because not only as a black man, that times I just want to, hit people on sight and he's on my list, but at the same time, the dangers of misinformation. People like him, people like those 1776 twins, people like I keep on wanting to call her Candace Owens. The so-called free thinkers, they're worse. And in his case, he's a representative that's currently running or will be running for governor of Florida and has said nothing. But it's also at the same time amazing that he said, oh, well, we're going to do this, but we can't do this because we really want to do this. We care nothing about immigrants, except that it's, hey, we're going to keep doing whatever keeps us in office, and we'll keep spouting whatever white man rage that keeps the votes coming. Although it's amazing, he ran hard for F-47, and he didn't even get a position in the White House, which goes to show y'all, you Sambo swinging Negroes. I'm talking about you, Tim Scott. Tim Scott, who might be a little bit on the backdoor action. Yeah, I'm talking about you, because you were the biggest ass kisser outside of Lindsey Graham. And now look at you. Still somehow the only black man in an all-white party. I'm sorry, the only black senator in an all-white party, and yet somehow not married to this mysterious white woman that pops up, but your black friend in the background is in every picture. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's all right to come out if you feel that way. But moving right along, guys. This one also, I don't understand it. And again, this is F-47 still trying to prove that he's making smart decisions. Like, for some odd reason, reopening Alcatraz.
This morning, President Trump is directing the federal government to reopen Alcatraz, the notorious former prison on the San Francisco Bay known as The Rock, considered escape-proof and the subject of multiple Hollywood films.
No one has ever escaped from Alcatraz. I'm in. Me too. And no one ever will.
Trump says he wants to reopen and expand the prison to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders.
Just an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, that came in illegally, that would mean millions of trials.
It comes after a new interview, which the president said he does not know whether every person in the U.S. is entitled to due process, as his administration pushes to deport immigrants in the country illegally.
So what's crazy about this is, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say, why? Because again, America is not the greatest country in the world. It's only known for a few things. And one of those is number of mass people incarcerated per capita. And what are we doing now? We're not opening schools, we're opening prisons, especially prisons that, for some odd reason, seem to still be the biggest thing, biggest cash cows. Because I know CCA, Corporate of America, they have prisons here. Their headquarters here in Nashville. And again, prisons that don't need to be opened, especially Alcatraz, which, by the way, was shut down because of cost, of maintenance, of upkeep, of prisoners, and things of that nature. And yet, because F-47 thinks it's a great idea, they want to move with it. Here's the thing. A long time ago when they sit there and say not every idea is a good idea, but you can't say not all ideas are bad ideas. we found an exception. I'm just going to put it that way. But really quickly, before we get into the weirdest news outside of Trump wanting to slap a tariff on all movies produced overseas, where again, he doesn't understand tariffs, and tariffs will never bring production back to the States. But he wants to go after these movies produced overseas and say, well, I'm going to put 100% tariff. Here's the problem, Mr. F-47, before I get to the next story. When you want to put tariffs on everything, you're going to come into a very special community called the gaming nerds blurs community, where a lot of our anime, a lot of our movies and OVAs are produced overseas. You putting tariffs on that means that we pay more. And I'm going to be honest with you. In the words of Fight Club, you don't want to piss off the people that service your computers, your cars, and everything else that you rely on in life. But again, he doesn't understand tariffs, and he will cause more issues along the way, because a lot of these Hollywood movies and budget productions have foreign investors, which means, hello, tariffs are going to hit. But like I said, I digress. It's just funny that he doesn't understand, and yet so-called he's a smart businessman. I want to remind everybody, this is the same Trump that bankrupted 4 casinos. 4 casinos. A literal building that prints money. He bankrupted 4 of them. And yet somehow he's a smart businessman. Right. But here's another thing I did want to point out, that he has come up with a budget proposal to where he is wanting to cut $163 billion in federal spending. Gee, I wonder where.
And we're learning some new details about the White House's 2026 budget proposal. President Trump's wish list is topped by $163 billion in spending cuts to education, foreign aid, and environmental protection. It also includes a massive 13% boost in defense spending. Let's bring in White House correspondent Karen Travers for more on that.
So I'm going to stop it right there, because really there's no point in going into the rest of that. What I want to show is right here. And the reason why I want to show this, folks, is because it's $163 billion in spending cuts to education, foreign and environment and health programs, increases to defense and homeland security. Y'all, the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, they are already almost at nearly, and I do mean nearly, $1 trillion in spending. They keep getting blank checks every time. And also, really want to point this out. The Department of Defense has yet to pass a successful audit. Has yet. They haven't had a successful audit since the 70s, because they always try to say, well, we're at war times, we need more money. So what does Congress do? Give them more money. Even now, we're giving them an increase. Whereas education, which we already know, they want to get rid of the Department of Education. Linda McMahon has already got her walking papers on that. Foreign and environmental aid, we already know that they're trying to cut down U.S. aid. They're trying to cut down federal programs that actually help with aid overseas. Health programs, we already know that they are cutting food and assistance benefits for American citizens. All of that is on the table and being cut. But you know what they're not saying? Hey, if you're on the defense side, if you're a PMC, it's Christmas for you. If you are literally a wealthy corporation or you're rich, it's Christmas for you. So that just goes to show you the simple fact of the matter is, and I will say it again, and feel free to call me wrong on this. I will actually die on this hill. Whenever there's a Republican administration in history, economically, the economy has faltered. Consumerism has dropped. But whenever there's a Democratic administration, it has to clean up the previous administration to put the economy and the U.S. budget back on track. Trust me, I will give $1,000 to anybody that can find a successful Republican administration to where the economy didn't tank. Good luck. But move right along. This story, guys, is kind of one of 3. that this is why I say for white women tears are freaking powerful. You want to know why? The star of this story, and then we'll get to the second part.
He's still home with us.
Thankful. That's how Caroline Miller is feeling after a frightening encounter at this Ackworth Walmart.
But as much as we would love to think it'll never happen, it will and does. And to be prepared for when it does.
She says her kids wanted to ride the motorized wheelchair. They were almost done shopping when she says 56-year-old Mahindra Patel asked for help finding Tylenol.
When I pointed my arm out this way to point it to the direction of where it was, that is when he reached down, put both his hands on Jude, and grabbed him out of my lap.
She says it happened so fast.
I'm like, no, no, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? He pulled him. I pulled him back. We're tug-of-warring.
She says then he walked off, bought the Tylenol, and left.
We saw him checking out, but before we could really do anything, he was gone.
3 days later, police arrested Patel.
We were able to see the car he got into and followed cameras and used our flock cameras in the city and was able to get a tag number and track him down.
But Miller still thinks Walmart needs to have better security.
Obviously, these places are targeted. You know, we know what's going on in the area around here. How many missing posters of kids do they have on their very own wall?
She says she's now teaching her kids a lesson she didn't think she'd have to this early.
She's more prepared for the situation if it ever happens again. She knows to scream now. He knows to kick and bite.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there because, number one, I know a lot of people going, oh, someone, tried to, kidnapping kids in Walmart. This is what we talk about. This is this whole thing of why we're trying to do all this stuff. And here's the problem with that story. The problem with that story is that Walmart has cameras to where the camera footage in this article, which again, I don't have the full, I wish I had the full video, because the man right there they're talking about, Mr. Patel, was in the video doing everything opposite that the woman claims he was doing, trying to take the child, trying to kidnap the child. And here's the crazy part, that after Mr. Patel was arrested and booked, it wasn't until his lawyer brought up the Walmart footage that showed that Mr. Patel didn't do any of those things. Matter of fact, he didn't try to kidnap the child because, again, what kidnapper is going to sit there, attempt a kidnapping in a Walmart, and then casually go buy headache medicine? I'm just gonna, hey, man, I know I couldn't kidnap this kid. Let me go get some Tylenol, and conveniently walk out. And again, this woman in court, mind you, is still sticking to her story about, he tried to take my child. The video proved otherwise. It did. Because why in the blue hell? And I said it once and I'll say it again. White women tears. White women tears. Now I know all you napkin women are not to be falling in this bucket. Some of y'all actually are down for the cause, and as small as that number is, but white woman tears. Oh, this man attempted to harm my child, so therefore, something needs to be done about this. And what happened? Police decided to basically sit there and say, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and arrest him. If I'm Mr. Patel and that happened to me, trust and believe I would be suing everybody, because they talk about due process. He was not given due process. Sure, he got his day in court, but why is that law enforcement did not check the footage of this woman's claims and just went off what she said? Again, there's another one that recently happened in Minnesota where this woman was fully in the wrong, calling a black child the N-word. But look, I just wanted to point out the audacity of this effort.
You call him a child? Did you call the child the N-word? It is my own business. You call him okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again? Okay. All right, that's what you say. Nobody dig into your
A little kid just did, you
That little kid, you call him the little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be the that.
I don't give
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Oh, and the internet did. Because again, with this woman who decided to basically tell a child, who listened to a child of color the N-word. And again, it's amazing. Now, I want to point this out. And this is why I say I love the internet, because the internet is a wonderful place. Note that NBC, at the time of this publication, did not give the woman's name. They didn't. They just said a woman accused of using a racial slur towards a younger child at a playground in Rochester, Minnesota. But the woman was not literally and figuratively identified, because attempts to contact the woman in the video, verify her name, and speak to a family member have so far been unsuccessful. Now, granted, this came out literally 5 days ago. Now, within those 5 days, I just want to point something out. This is the same bitch. I'm sorry, the same woman. And she's on a Christian site called Give, Sing, Go. Now, this is basically a GoFundMe for Christian people, or so-called Christian people, but we'll get to that. But anyway, this is what she says. Hello, my name is Shiloh, and I have been put into a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was. Another man who recently found out has a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which has caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked. My address and my phone number have been given out freely. My family members are being attacked. My eldest child may not be going back to school. Even where I exercise has been exposed. I am asking for your help to assist in protecting my family. I fear that we must relocate. I have 2 small children who do not deserve this. We have been threatened to the extreme by people online. Anything will help. We cannot and will not live in fear. Thank you. So, you want to know what the crazy part about all this is? She put on there a goal of $1 million. So far, nearly $750,000. $750,000. And here's the crazy part, and I've said before, please don't tell me racism doesn't exist in America. A white woman tears. A white woman tears leads to open wallets by the same people that believe in her ignorance. Help me protect my family from what? You called a child of color the N-word, and now all of a sudden you need protection? I don't believe that you're in danger. I don't believe that your children are. I don't believe that your children are in danger. I don't believe that your information has been leaked. I don't believe you're I mean, if anything, your name may have been leaked. Your name may have been leaked, but it should be. It should be. Because you know why? We need to know who you are. We need to shine the light on you. See, here's the thing about freedom of speech. I have it all the time. Hey, Trey, yes, it is effing insane. It is. But here's the thing about freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. You can say whatever you want to say. You are not absolved from the consequences of what you say. For some odd reason, Miss Shiloh, you wanted to call a child of color the N-word. And then you repeated it. And then you doubled down on it. And then, and I hate to say this, guys, that someone wanted to prove who she was. This is what she did. She literally said, well, here's someone writing handle as well to prove her identity to a user on X. That is what she wrote. And that just goes to show you, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, the people who feel this way, they're not wearing their hoods anymore. They're not hiding anymore. They have the audacity to come out and say what they want to say. This is why I say all the time, in the words of Delroy Lindo, go on and say it. We are not our ancestors. You deserve, and I'm going to be honest with you, I am usually a person that promotes peace and harmony and just getting along. But if you say the N-word, you deserve to get checked. And I don't feel bad for you. Now, in this case, she said from a place of safety. The man wasn't going to attack her. Why? Because it becomes a whole other situation after that. And she made sure not to say it around the mother. I'm sorry. Say the N-word to a black mom's child. Say it to a black mom's child and think you're going to walk away. And yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Trey. Say it out loud in FA and FO. But here's the thing. What this shines a light on is the fact that racism is alive and well. Folks who try to say racism don't exist. Yes, it does. There's a woman out there right now whose campaign, whose Give Sing Go is almost $750,000. This woman is getting life-changing money to be absolved of her consequences because she's quote unquote in fear for her life. From who? Who's to say? I mean, because you don't, I mean, we can't go off your words, but hey, white women tears. I keep saying this, guys. White women tears. And then the cavalry shows up. Let a black woman do the same thing. She's questioned. A white woman cries, she is rescued. A black woman cries, she is questioned, she is questioned, she is berated, she is blamed for actions that are beyond her control. And even more so, the CEO of Give Sing Go, because people have been wanting this campaign to be shut down. In the same sense, they've been wanting Luigi Mangioni's legal defense to be shut down. Here's what the CEO did say regarding the Give Sing Go. He says, quote unquote, at Give Sing Go, we recently disabled comments on the fundraising campaigns for Carmelo Anthony and Shiloh Hendricks due to the unacceptable volume of racist and derogatory remarks. At the time comments were turned off, both campaigns had raised approximately $500,000 with around 15,000 donors each. We remain committed to ensuring all funds raised are delivered to the campaign recipients as intended. However, we unequivocally condemn the hateful comments that sought to fuel division and harmful narratives. These remarks do not reflect Give Sing Go's values of hope, compassion, and fairness. Our platform exists to support individuals and families in need. We uphold the principle that everyone deserves a fair process, not judgment by mob outrage. We took action to stop the spread of divisive rhetoric while ensuring the campaigns continue to serve their intended purpose. We call for respectful dialogue and understanding, even in challenging situations. Thank you for supporting our mission to share hope and help. You cowardly pieces of shit. Here's the problem. It's amazing that as a CEO, you have a slight problem. One campaign domain was done by a racist. The other campaign was basically a family raising legal funds because apparently because their son had killed or defended himself. I still say self-defense until otherwise noted by a court, defending himself at a track meet. However, the person that defended himself at the track meet didn't use a racist epithet, but they were treated as a domestic terrorist. However, Ms. Shiloh, out of her own volition, decided to use a word that she knows she shouldn't use, said it from a place of safety because there was no mothers nearby. At the same time, when the light is on her, she whines and cries how she's the victim. And yet, here comes the cavalry. We're going to give you money to protect yourself. We're going to give you money to protect your family. This is so terrible. The person that recorded you, they had a violent criminal record anyway. Do you see the narrative turn there? So we went from white woman used the N-word freely toward a child of color to now, what is this person that recorded her? Why does he have a criminal record? Why is he following her? Trust me, it's already happened on Fox News. They're already dissecting the person that recorded her. And that person that recorded her was very brave and not backing down. But Jacob Wells at Give Sing Go, that entire Christian place, they are fucking cowards. Because If anything, if you want to show that you're truly Christian, you wouldn't support a racist. But at the same time, when it came to Carmelo Anthony's case, yes, there were folks out there wanting to have that Gibson go turned down. But again, completely different scenario. Luigi Mangioni's, they wanted his Gibson go, which is almost, I think, at nearly almost nearly $1 million in donations. They wanted that to go down. But at the same time, it's not as if they said racial epitaphs. Miss Shiloh, on the other hand, wants to be able to say whatever she wants and then go back to her castle. I'm sorry, honey. When you play the game of free speech, you got to pay the toll. And the toll is that everybody knows who you are. Well, tough shit. But again, unfortunately, Gibson Go will not stop the campaign donations, and this heifer and her family may wind up getting exactly what she asked for. At the same time, I hope that this is a lesson to all those that sit there and say, well, racism is no longer a thing. It still is a thing. Very much so. And unless you're a person of color, or unless you're somebody who is not a person of color, but sees and understands what a person of color goes through, stick to your privilege and choke on it. For the rest of you, that is. But couple of last story, guys, before we get to our feel good segment. And again, this one is still crazy. Secretary of Health R.F. Kennedy, the guy who has brain lesions, the guy who decided to drop off a bear in Central Park, the guy who decided to strap half a whale to his car and take it home and dissect it, the guy who thinks he knows more than doctors, research scientists, and people that actually have intelligence, turns around and sat there and says he wants to figure out what causes autism and is making it a point to not only figure that out, but at the same time, get information on those who are autistic for he calls quote unquote research purposes. Advocacy groups out there that actually do help in the autism community say he doesn't understand their needs. And they're 100% right. R.F. Kennedy, and I said before, guys, for him to be Secretary of Health, for anybody to be in these certain secretary departments in the White House, you have to have some sort of freaky education or backing that says you can do it. Secretary of Health honestly should have been a physician. Should have been a physician with an extended tenure. Secretary of Education should be somebody that actually has a previous experience in education, not just somebody that can throw money at F-47's donations. Secretary of Defense, somebody who has actually seen war in multiple theaters, someone that actually understands the military, and housing and interior. I can keep going on and on. The point I'm getting at is there should be a background to what makes you qualified for said position. RFK doesn't have that. He's too busy trying to figure out, because I'm sorry, every time RFK talks, the man needs lemon tea, a lozenge, and Ricola. Whoa. Bruh, just cough one good goddamn time. But the point I'm getting at is he sees autism as a disease. And let me stress something very clearly. Autism is not a disease. There is nothing wrong with autistic children or individuals or adults, because you know what? Those people see the world differently. Some of them have gone on, a lot of them have led on to lead productive lives. And just because we're getting more and more information about autism and the spectrum and diagnosis and how to help people to function within society, that is still a new field. RFK, however, should not be leading said field. This is the same guy that says you should take vitamin A to fight measles, while every doctor from here to an emergency room is going, no, you shouldn't. Just get the vaccine. But oh wait, RFK's an anti-vaxxer too. He doesn't believe that newborns should be getting as many vaccination shots as they are getting, not realizing we did come through smallpox, measles, mumps, whooping cough, and 100 different other diseases that actually took out millions of lives. But there's a reason why vaccinations work, And vaccinations do not cause autism, no matter what Mr. Kennedy thinks. But again, it just goes to show you how disconnected F-47's administration is from the rest of us. And all I can sit there and say is it's going to be a long 3 freaking years. But that being said, guys, we are going to move on to our feel-good segment because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom and sometimes make you faith humanity. But hey, it's hump day. Tomorrow is Thursday. And we will leave you guys out with some good news and some positive vibrations. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week. So all those people out there who are teachers, educators, whether you're active or retired, whether you're in a classroom or you're in an after-school special or after-school program, whether you're in a daycare, whether you're in a learning center, or whether you just teach a group of kids in your own free time, you are an educator, you are a teacher, you do shape the minds of the younger generation. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your commitment. We thank you for really taking on, honestly, it's a thankless job. For honestly being the third parent sometimes in a lot of these households. So if you are a teacher or an educator or former or retired or active, from the bottom of our hearts here at How the Frack We Got Here, thank you. We cannot say it enough. You guys should be getting freaking paid more. But again, we got to keep it positive. I go in no situation with that. That being said, we actually did come across a story where one teacher was honored for their endeavors and given their flowers.
Also celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week, and this morning we're introducing you to one of the most inspiring teachers and coaches, Mr. Jesus Perez, a special education teacher. Yes, everybody, the applause. He also coaches basketball and baseball at NYC Business of Sports School. Now, Mr. Perez, welcome to you. It's great to have you. Now, I thought that you assumed that you were going to be here with some other educators joining you, right? Actually, today we're going to make it all about you. Believe it or not.
I appreciate
we want
that.
to show America just how special you are to your students. Take a look.
Morning, sir.
Jesus Perez building connections with his students.
What's going on?
One fist bump at a time.
Go get your binder, sir, because we got to get work done.
Mr. Perez is the type of teacher that students love.
Perez in his 10th year as a science teacher and coach at the Business of Sports School here in New York.
Perez has almost a cultural following here at Boss.
He arrived to this building at 6:30 every morning, and his students are waiting outside for him just to come in and practice.
If anybody needs to stay to make up work,
you can tell him anything. He will give you the greatest advice ever.
He was the first teacher that I genuinely felt like was a friend and not just an educator.
He's on the younger side, so it's easy to relate to him. He's one of us.
We can talk about sports for hours on hours and sneakers and fashion. When I grow up, I would like to be like Mr. Perez.
He's just always so happy all the time.
Perez giving his all every day, not just to the students, but to the staff as well.
He is able to read my mind. There's days that I'm just thinking about something and he magically, I don't even have to ask. It's already done.
He embodies what we aspire to as teachers.
Whether you're 3 years old or 80 years old, he always tries to make somebody's day better. He's just awesome. He's just awesome.
Perez, I appreciate you for always taking the time to help me out.
I appreciate the 4 years, Perez.
Mr. Perez, you are very rare.
You deserve every single bit of this glory. Enjoy it, and it's all about you.
There we go. Watching you watch those faces pop up one by one. What was it like hearing from the students and faculty?
It's amazing. Thank you for them doing that and saying that to me. Feels a little surreal, right? Because you go ahead and you go into this not wanting to go ahead and do much, just trying to go ahead and make connections and impact lives and things. But I guess I'm doing a pretty good job at it, right?
I think you are. You've clearly touched some lives. And you know what? This wouldn't be a celebration without the students and faculty. So let's bring everybody in. We got a bit of a surprise for you. We got a crowd. We got a party happening this morning. Yes, we do. We love Mr. Perez. Come on in here.
Love you, sir. Love you, sir. Love you, sir.
So, Mr. Perez, we see how much you've touched all these young lives. As you're, giving some hugs and everything here.
I'm sorry.
No, keep it going. Keep it going. But clearly you mean so much to everybody at the school. But talk about what they mean to you. You know, what do you get out of the students and the faculty as well?
I mean, they teach
How they
me a
touched
lot.
your life?
So one of the biggest things, I'll tell you a quick little story. This young man right here, when he was a freshman, he told Miss Spivey, who went ahead and just spoke, I want to go ahead and be a teacher like Mr. Perez when I go ahead and grow up. I don't know if you still have the same sentiment, but, you know, hearing something like that and impacting your life like that, it's amazing, right? They teach me patience all the time. You have to go ahead and stay on your toes if you want to go ahead and be able to do the job and do the right thing behind these students. So it feels amazing, right? So
teenagers teaching patience. I don't know anything
Listen,
about that, right?
and you wouldn't think so, but they do a great job at it.
Well, you know what? We also know that you're a huge sports fan, especially with like the New York Giants. That's your team, right?
It is.
All right, we got a little bit of a surprise for you here and a message. Take a look.
Jesus, I'm thrilled to celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week with GMA and to let you know that you are a rock star coach and teacher. And because of that, I want to give you tickets to a New York Giants game this upcoming season. Go Big Blue.
No way. And so, oh, no way.
Yes. You can bring you and 3 of your friends, family. Maybe everybody's going to be trying to get in on this one right now. How's it like to hear from Eli Man?
Eli is the man. New York forever, baby.
There you go.
Oh, this is amazing.
This is the year, perhaps.
Thank you.
You got the tickets to go to the big game. All right, we've got a few more surprises here. Because this one here, yes, that's not all we've got. We've got another one. We're happy to share that Donors Choose is giving NYC Business of Sports School a $10,000 gift card for the school. $10,000 gift card that's here. We're going to need extra arms here. And wait, there's more because Ripple is partnering with Donors Choose and donating $10 million to public school teachers across the country for Teacher Appreciation Week.
That's amazing.
So we're celebrating you.
Amazing.
We're celebrating teachers all across the country.
I appreciate that. That's amazing.
Feeling pretty good today?
It's feeling amazing.
This would go a long way at the school, wouldn't it?
Donors Choose has been a great part of everything that I've been able to do as far as coaching, and I love it. Appreciate that. Thank you. So because of you guys, so I appreciate you guys all the time.
Thank you all, Mr. Perez. You're quite special. We know you're having a huge impact on so many lives, and thank you for all you do.
Yeah, and there's no other way I can say that, guys. Outside of that is the reason why we need teachers. We need educators, and literally you can see the impact that they do have on everybody. It's not just kids, it's communities, things of that nature. Like I said, I can go on and on because I have a very special place in my heart for educators and teachers, because without them, the pendejo you see in front of you wouldn't be here. Let's just be honest. But shout out to that man getting his flowers as he well deserves them. Again, if you do see a teacher, or if you know a teacher for Teacher Appreciation Week, do something nice. It doesn't got to be extravagant like Giants tickets, but do something nice. Wouldn't hurt. But that being said, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do thank everybody that watched, that liked, that commented, that let people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, because much like PBS and NPR, we cannot do any of this without your support. That being said, guys, I do want to actually shout out a couple of places. I will first start with APR TV. Why? Because our show, How the Frack Got Here, shows on APR TV. You can definitely find them at alwayspressrecord.com, on the Roku channel, or the Amazon Fire TV app. And other shows like Blurred's Eye View and Roomful of Blurs can also be shielded on those shows as well. Again, these are the areas where our viewership, our content should be going, because, again, we have built up places like Tubi, and Tubi is owned by the same guy that owns Fox. Those dollars should be going back to us, is all I'm saying. But definitely check out APR TV. Also, check out blurredstation.com, another place to where our content, our viewership, most importantly, our dollars should be going to. They have television, they have movies, they have anime, they have multiple things on their site. Definitely go to blurredstation.com. If you do want to join, hit the Join Now button. Select the Blurred's Eye View Affinity membership. You can select any member there. It is $10.99 a month to stream Blurred Station. $10.99 a month to stream Blurred Station. It doesn't get equal to that. And you can stream it all on all smart devices. But again, this is the table that we keep saying that we need to build, and stop asking to be belonging at other tables, because this one is definitely ours. Pull Ryan Coogler. Oh, by the way, Sinners is well over $200 million, but still, want to give props there. Also, runforoffice.org. You want to know how the crazy people did it? How Moms for Liberty did it? Well, they use sites like this. What actually has a run for office? If you do feel the need for public service, whether it's local or national, Go to runforoffice.org, type in the full address. It'll go through the process how you can get your name on the ballot, how you can run, and hopefully if you do win, you can make a difference in life. At the same time, guys, at this point, we no one can sit on the sidelines. There needs to be actual action. So if you see yourself locally or nationally as a senator or representative, go for it. Because again, if we do nothing and they will, we'll just get another F-47 in another 4 years. Just saying. As for myself, guys, please find the show, How the Frack We Got Here, on all socials, on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, as we do build up the channels there. Let us know what you think. Like and share. Again, we are trying to fight the algorithm, but this heifer got hands. But again, we appreciate every view, every comment. Anytime people walk up to us in the street, because I've had a few people go, I'll watch your show. Cool, share it, subscribe to it, please. Anything that you can do to help us, because again, crowd support is what we go off of. Unless we get donors, like y'all want to donate to the church too. But hey, up to y'all. As for myself, Black_Spartan615 is my social page as well. You can like and follow me there. Just don't be weird. I don't want to block anybody or cuss anybody out, because I do like to talk with people and do like to talk about more than just politics. But again, don't be weird. But as we wrap this up, guys, I know with things going with F-47 right now, don't doom scroll. What I mean by that is anytime he posts something, anytime something is said or another tariff, don't doom scroll. Please, oh please, in this day and age, do something that makes you happy, do something that makes you laugh, protect your peace, check on your people, because again, a call or a text to somebody you haven't heard from a while can make all the difference in the world. And if you have the ability to make somebody smile, go ahead and do it. The world would be a better place because of it. But again, guys, sometimes go outside and go touch grass. Doesn't hurt. The last thing I said about the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, allow you to make up your own mind. But we do provide us positive, mostly influential, mostly rational perspective that goes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman to the Federal Board of Governors. Maybe one day, I keep hoping, we'll finally say that we can elect our first Black woman as Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up at our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians in Congress, but still the same game occurs? And most importantly, how the frack we got here? Thank you all for watching, guys. Again, let us know what you think. Please check out our other shows. Other things are going on, especially with Blurred's Eye View happening tomorrow, Thursday at 7-ish. Room Full of Blurs, Geek by Heart, Safari TV, Navy Blurredicons, Mayhem Media, Shoko Says. Check all of us out. Which can all be found at the YouTube link. But again, guys, take care of yourselves and each other. And I promise, somehow, we'll get through this. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. Peace.